up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access Entertainment. As always, please hit that subscribe button. It's right down there. It's free and enables us to keep coming to you guys as often as possible with as many interviews as possible. So please hit that subscribe button, like our content, share it, talk about it, be about it, each one, teach one. We appreciate you guys' support in getting us this far. And of course, if you haven't already, go get my book, The History of Gangster Rap, available worldwide on all platforms. Now today, we have the honor and privilege of being joined by somebody I've been admiring and following for many, many moons. So today is the great Chill Rob G. Thank you for coming through, sir.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it's an honor and a privilege. And we also have great timing because you just put out your brand new album, Empires Crumble. So Chill Rob G, you've been putting out music since the 80s when I was first getting aware of you. So with Empires Crumble, it has been a minute in between releases. So what makes now the time that you wanted to come back with Empires Crumble in particular?
I got a phone call from the great Chuck D of Public Enemy about a year ago. And out of the blue, well, it was kind of out of the blue. I had seen Chuck a few months prior at, actually maybe almost a year prior because the pandemic had happened. But, you know, when I saw him that night before the phone call, he was saying, you know, let's get in touch or whatever, you know, keep in touch and this and that. I saw him at the Awesome 2 anniversary. So, you know, I performed that night. Chuck was like, yo, Rob, where you been? Blah, blah, blah. He called me up. He was like, listen, man, I might have a situation you'll be interested in. The guy that's been working on my music, C-Doc, told me that he kind of likes your stuff and he'd be willing to work with you if you want to do it. So the thing is, you know, that night when I had performed at the Awesome 2 show, I got on the mic and told everybody I was working on new music and this and that. And I kind of was, but then, you know, not really. I was doing stuff, but not really doing stuff. But now Chuck is on the phone like, yo, let's put out a new record. So, you know, I put my foot in my mouth now. So now I got to do an album. So, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how that worked out, man. I was like, yeah, you know, I'm not going to say no. I love what I do as far as, you know, music goes. So the opportunity to work, and I had heard those albums that he was talking about. So I heard the production. I knew this dude C-Doc was kind of nice. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's see what happens. And that's how that came about.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm also definitely a fan of C-Doc's production. And one of the things that I think with Empires Crumble, he does a great job of to throw it back to, you know, the 80s era and even the early 90s era is with all the scratching. So for you as an artist, what does having that incorporated into your music mean to you to have so much scratching on an album?
Oh man, it was dope. You know what I mean? I always admired, that's kind of what drew me into hip hop from the very beginning was the DJs and the scratching. And I had a couple of friends in Jersey City where I grew up who was really big on doing those tricks. Like I had this dude named Silky T and Toon, and Toon was super fast with the scratching. He was one of those dudes that spin around and the DJ behind his back. He'd be mixing while he's eating his cereal. He's scratching with his elbow, with his butt, and all kind of stuff, man. So I like that kind of stuff, and to have it on my album is dope. I really like it.
Okay. And then what made you pick Empires Crumble as the title?
Well, once again, we was in the middle of a pandemic. Like the whole planet had shut down. Everybody stay in the house. And things was looking kind of shady. And, you know, when we was checking out the coverage, and I'm not necessarily talking about the news coverage, I'm talking about the live feeds that we getting on social media and all of that. It just seemed like America was not doing very well as compared to a lot of other countries. So, you know, this is the great empire, right? And I just thought about the fact that, you know, all of these giant empires eventually fade away. You know, they're all gone. The ones that we've read about in history are in history. So, boom, that was the title. Eureka, as I was walking down the street, Empires Crumble. That was it.
Okay. And on Empires Crumble, you have Excuse Me kicks off the album. And on there you say, get rich or die. There is no try, only do. Right. And obviously 50 Cent made that very popular. But right. For you, what made you want to kind of flip what he said on its head?
you know, I don't know. It was just a lyric that came to me. I, I don't know. I really can't say what happens when these lyrics pop up, and I think it sounds good enough to. I spit it out. Get rich or die. There is no try, only do. You know, that's from Star Wars. Yoda said that. So I don't know. I really can't answer that. I'm sorry. I wish I had a better answer.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, also on Empire's Crumble, you got the 1 minute song where you're talking about a lot of the early flavor unit days.
Mhm.
And so as you think back, multiple questions about that, but the first one being is now that you've seen and the evolution of rap has happened so many different times and so many different eras, what made the flavor unit significant and special during its peak and its prime when you were there?
Well, one of the things was we was like one of the first really big waves of rappers from Jersey. It was like a little bit of Jersey movement when uh Sugar Hill Records was based in New Jersey, but the artists that they put out wasn't necessarily Jersey artists. They wasn't repping Jersey like that. And then we had Hassan and 7-Eleven. They was from Newark, I believe. And again, they didn't really make it as far as I wanted them to, as a fan of the fact that they from Newark, but they didn't. So us coming from Jersey, I carried that chip on my shoulder on the low. I didn't say, we're from Jersey, but I knew that I'm coming in here and New York is dominant and all of the best artists, all of the best talent is coming out of New York. And so I can't, make no mistakes, man. I gotta cross all my T's, dot all my I's, because I already got this knock against me. I'm not from Brooklyn. I'm not from Queens. This kid is from across the way, man. So I had to make sure I was right. You know what I mean?
Okay. And also on 1 minute, I thought it was interesting too how you talked about Naughty by Nature's evolution, albeit very quickly from New Style to Naughty by Nature.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to really explain to people the change and how you saw like what happened with them with New Style and then them explode into one of the biggest, if not the biggest group at the time. What was that like for you seeing that and what was happening? What made it change so dramatically?
Man, listen, that was incredible. First of all, I didn't know them at all when they were New Style, right? They put out their record New Style, and I was in Irvington. I think I had a job in Irvington working for this rental company. And my man's brought me the record and said, yo, these kids is from Jersey. I was like, word? So we listened to it, they rapping. I was like, oh, I was kind of impressed. I was like, oh shit, but that didn't really take off. But there was another crew from Jersey. Again, I didn't know them at all. So fast forward, it might have been 5 or 6 years later when Apache brought these cats through, and it wasn't necessarily using the name New Style at that point. I don't think they was, he didn't say this is New Style. I found that out a little bit later, but just to watch them, it seemed like they was new artists. Came in, I met everybody's cool, but the explosion, I'll tell you what was really impressive. The night that Trench had the album finished and he came over to Apache's crib with the cassette, he's hyped. He's like, yo, what y'all hear this? So we like, all right, bet, we knew it was gonna be good, but he put that cassette in, man. I think the whole time I sat there with my mouth open, man, it was crazy because nobody was doing nothing like that at that time. I was like, yo, this is bananas. Oh, every record was like that. So, I just knew that they was going to be large, but for the people to really accept them the way that I knew that they should, that was really dope also, man. Made me feel like I knew what I was talking about. Cause they was really mega for a minute, man. They was really super large, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was just an amazing movement. Fortunately, I was able to see them perform very early in their career. So that was incredible. I saw them at Hammer Jackson, Baltimore, Maryland, and they even had this was Down with the King, Run DMC. They had Run DMC open for them to kind of pay homage to people that came before them, which I thought was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also on 1 minute, you talked about touring in Germany. So earlier in your career, or you heard about them performing in Germany, people doing the power, I guess.
Mhm.
So when you were first hearing this happening, was your first knowledge that other people were taking the power and doing stuff?
Um, my man, I was on tour in Germany maybe almost a year before this happened, before the power happened. Almost a year.
Okay.
And Africa from the Jungle Brothers, I was on tour with Latifah, the Jungle Brothers, and this kid True Mathematics. And so Africa called me up. They went back out there to perform some more. They're doing some more shows in Europe. So they caught this dude performing in Germany, and he's doing the power, right? So they knew the record the same way I did as Let the Words Flow. They heard that record every night. We was on the road for maybe 3 weeks. They knew that record. So when they heard this dude doing the power with the the remix joint, Africa called me up and was like, "Yo, Rob, man, something's going on out here, man. This dude is out here." They introduced this group, the Snap, and this guy came out and he's doing your music, man. You better see what's going on. So I was like, he was more upset than I'm at that point. He was more upset than me. So I was like, all right. I called up the record label. I don't know if I got in touch with anybody. So I went up there like the very next day. I'm up there and I'm talking to Stu Fine about it. And before I really even got anywhere with I want to tell him what Africa told me. He pulls out a copy of the record. He got the record and he got this little note with the record. And the note is like, it's from Anonymous. And it says something like, "Stu, you need to check this out." Something really, esoteric, like, what the fuck is this? So, we listened to it and, we heard the record that everybody know as, the Power. And it's a dance record. It's, a really poppy and club type of joint. It's not the music that I was really doing at that point, but it sounded good. I mean, I know a hot record when I hear one. This one sounded good. I thought it could be something. So let's put it out. I did not know that it was going to turn into what it turned into. But yeah, that was definitely the first time I heard about it when Africa called me up and told me. I had no clue.
Yeah.
So let me add this. Just the end of last year, somebody reached out to me on Instagram because they had seen another interview that I had done talking about the record. So they found my contact, and this man's name is, I keep saying Anthony. I can't remember his first name. I got it in my phone. This dude named, I'll call him Mr. Anderson because that's his last name. Anderson called me up. He was like, "Look, I'm the guy who produced the record. I did the mix. I used to be down with Teddy Riley." This is the story he told me. He used to be down with Teddy Riley. He was part of the whole New Jack Swing movement. Did a lot of production with Ted. He was working on some stuff. He liked my vocals. He decided to do that mix on his own. He created that record, but he was lost on on how it ended up in Germany in the hands of these two guys that are claiming credit for it. So it was really this dude in Texas. He's based out of Texas right now, named Anderson, who made that song. So I'm like, well, what the hell? It's really a mystery, like what's going on. I mean, I always knew the music business was shady. You hear it over and over, but when you live in it, man, woo, it's different, boy. It's different.
Yeah, because on 1 minute you talk about the label and scratching your head and not knowing what's going on. So when this is happening with Power, how, not understanding the power, no pun intended, of that song, but the reach of it, how did you see in retrospect, how do you feel it affected or impacted your career, positive or negative?
In the short term, it was positive because I'm doing a lot of shows now. My price went up. I'm, making a lot of moves, and some opportunities was there. But then in the long term, the business end of it, I'm like, I'm jerked. I'm beat out of this song. Like, who made this record? Where's my royalties? How come Arista is putting the record out in Germany? Why are they putting it out in the US? Can we get Clive Davis on the phone? We need to get this straight. But Stu Fine, who was the CEO of Wild Pitch, was kind of reluctant to make any moves. So this is what made me really leery of Stu and his motives. And the whole showing me the record when I walk in and you got a note, all of that started looking extra, extra suspect, man. Like, come on, it was just too much. So, that really just destroyed my relationship with Wild Pitch, whether they know it or not. That was really a big part of why I refused to do any more work with them. Because, you can't even protect me from being robbed. Like, somebody's just going to come, pick your pocket, and I'm standing out here like, well, I'm ass hanging in the breeze, man. Come on. It's fucked up.
And 5, 10, 20 years later, did you ever talk to Stu Fine, or you haven't
I had
kept
a
in touch?
conversation with Stu Fine. He's still, he's playing dumb about the record. And, Stu Fine's the kind of guy, he's a nice guy. I think he had good intentions. He just, he didn't know what he was doing, man. He honestly he couldn't keep anybody happy. Nobody on that label was happy. None of us. But I got to give him credit. He had a hell of a roster on that label.
Yeah, Wild Pitch was thorough. That's for sure.
Right.
And was he the one that picked all the artists, at least in the beginning?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, on Empire's Crumble, there's also Pay For It. And on that song, you're talking a lot about some of the corruption with Congress being mobsters and how commerce controls everything. And I was interested, when did that part of life start really hitting you hard? Because, back in the day, we had Quarters Now in Session on a different angle of crime and problems in society. But what made you want to look at it differently on Pay For It?
I don't know if I was looking at it differently. I think if I had moved forward in my career the way I should have, that record would have came out a lot sooner, But because of the issues with me recording and not wanting to be bothered and not really focusing on doing like a one album project, you know what I'm saying? I didn't get to that yet. But I was eventually going to get there. I was definitely heading down that way.
Yeah. Because that's one of the things that I always appreciated about your work was the variety of subject matter that you had. So, and I think that also is apparent on Empire's Crumble. On a related note, on Empire's Crumble, you also have the Unlimited, where you're talking about how the streets have no pity and you learned it the hard way. So what was that speaking on?
Life can be really rough, man, especially life in the streets. Just in general, just growing up, and nothing specific. I can't nail it down to this happened, but just the way things go, man. Just watching what happened to other people, seeing how people change and the way things, you think it's like this, and it's not really like that. You got to pay attention to, the people that you call your friends, because sometimes that ain't your friend. Them smiles and them hugs and them handshakes don't mean nothing. You know what I mean? You just got to really pay attention.
Well, that ties directly into I'm Not Surprised, another song on Empire's Crumble, because on I'm Not Surprised, you talk about how most of your hopes and dreams have been shattered and how most of your friends have scattered and different things like that. So is this throughout your whole life a constant story, or was this specific periods, or what was going on?
Yeah, I would say that it was during a specific period. It was mostly during I would say the decline of my music career. Okay. So, and I got an opportunity to see how people was just not answering my calls anymore. And my phone wasn't ringing. My phone was so super dry, it was crazy. So yeah, that's what that's referring to.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The history of gangster rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The history of gangster rap in stores now.